Hello dear learners, welcome to this SWAYAM NPTEL online course on inclusive education. I am Dr. Umakant Prasad, an assistant professor from Department of Education, Vishwabharati Shantiniketan. Today we are going to discuss lecture number 22, that is inclusive education under Indian Constitution. During this lecture we will discuss about Indian Constitutions and education, fundamental rights under Indian Constitutions, and equalization of educational opportunities for all under the Indian Constitution. The Constitution of India came into force on January 26 in 1950, which aimed to transform the country's social, economic and educational structures. Its preamble highlights the value of justice, liberty, equality and fraternity. These principles closely linked to the right to education. At independence, India's literacy rate was just around 12%, which showed the urgent need of mass education. The Constitution's framers believed that a well-educated population is essential for functioning the democracy in our country, as it helps citizens to understand their rights and responsibilities and prevents the misuse of the power. Without education, democracy cannot survive and thrive. Therefore, making education accessible to all was seen as a necessary step towards building a democratic society like India. The Indian Constitution ensures that every citizen has equal opportunities in education. Article 29(1) states that no one can be denied admission to an educational institution that is funded by the state because of their religion, race, caste or language. So, on the basis of any background, the person cannot be denied to access the education. The Constitution is based on four important principles, that is justice, liberty, equality and fraternity. It says that everyone should be treated equally before the law and should have the freedom to think and express themselves. True equality includes giving everyone equal opportunities for education. So, without equal access to education, the idea of equal opportunities is meaningless. That is why the Kothari Commission recommended that the central government should take responsibility to reduce differences in educational opportunities across the nation and help weaker sections of the society. Fundamental rights and education. Part 3 of Indian Constitution lists of certain fundamental rights, which are essential for a person's overall development. These rights allow every person to live freely and make his or her own choices. They help individuals to grow and protect their dignity. The government can only interfere with these rights if it is necessary for the public interests, for example, in the case of reservation etc. These rights are the part of the basic structure of Constitution and cannot be taken away, although they can be changed through constitutional amendments. Currently, the Constitution guarantees 6 fundamental rights and many of which are connected to the education, such as right to equality, right to freedom, right to against exploitation and right to freedom of religion, cultural and educational rights and right to constitutional remedies. Equalization of educational opportunities for all under the Indian Constitution. The Indian Constitution supports equal education for everyone. It believes that every child, no matter where they come from, should have the same chance to learn and grow. The idea is to reduce the gap between the rich and poor and between rural and urban areas. The Constitution provides a strong base for this goal, and the government must keep working to ensure it is achieved in practice. There are many articles in Indian constitutions, those are focusing on equalization of educational opportunities, such as Article 14, that is right to equality. Article 14 of the Indian Constitution guarantees the right to equality, ensuring that the state shall not deny any person equality before the law or equal protection of the law within the territory of India. This fundamental right is a cornerstone of Indian democracy, aiming to eliminate discrimination and promote fairness and justice. Article 15, that is prohibition of discrimination. It prohibits discrimination based on religion, race, caste, sex or place of birth, etc. It ensures that the state cannot discriminate against any citizen on these grounds and also protects citizens from disabilities, restrictions or conditions based on these factors in various public spaces and services. Article 15(3), that is education for women and children. Article 15(3) of Indian Constitution allows the state to make special provisions for women and children. This clause acts as a exception to general prohibition of discrimination on the basis of sex outlined in Article 15(a). It essentially permits the state to implement affirmative action policy, especially designed to address the unique needs and challenges faced by women and children. Article 15(4), that is education for backward classes. To support socially and educationally backward class, Article 15(4) was added through the first amendment in 1951. It allows the government to take special steps for advancement of these groups, including scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. This advancement can be in many forms like scholarships, hostel facilities, free education, medical aid, housing and seats reservations in schools and colleges. Reservation in private educational institutions, that is Article 15(5). The 93rd amendment in 2005 added Article 15(5), allowing the government to make laws that provide reservation for SCs and STs and socially and educationally backward classes in private educational institutions, both added and unadded, except those run by religious or linguistic minorities. Article 21(a), that is right to education. Article 21(a), that is the part of right to life as well of Indian Constitution, inserted by 86th Constitutional Amendment in 2002, that guarantees the fundamental right to free and compulsory education for children between age 6 to 14 years old. This means the state is obligated to provide free elementary education to all children in this age group, and it is compulsory for them to attend the schools. The right of children to free and compulsory education Act, that is RT Act 2009, provides the framework for implementing this fundamental right. Secular education, that is in Article 28. India is a secular country and this is reflected in its education system. Article 28 ensures that no religious instruction is given in schools or colleges funded entirely by the state. However, if a school is set up under the trust that requires religious teaching, it may be allowed, but only with consent from the student or their guardian. Article 29, that is equal access to education. Article 29(2) of the Indian Constitution guarantees that no citizen shall be denied admission into any educational institutions maintained by the state or receiving aid out of state funds on ground only of religion, race, caste or language. This provision ensures equal access to education for all citizens regardless of their background without any discrimination. Article 30, that is related to minority educational rights. Article 30 protects the right of religious and linguistic minorities to set up and manage their own educational institutions. They can also receive government aid without being discriminated against based on their religion or language. However, these institutions must still follow general rules and regulations set by government. Article 41, that is right to work, to education and to public assistance. The state shall, within the limit of its economic capacity and development, make effective provision for ensuring the right to work, to education and to public assistance in the case of unemployment, old age, sickness and disablement, and in order to cases of unserved want. Article 45, that is early childhood care and education. Article 45 stresses the importance of providing early education and care for children below 6 years of age. The Supreme Court has said that this article along with Article 21A, that is right to education, and Article 21, that is right to life, shows that early education is a basic right of the child. Article 46, that is promoting the interests of SCs, STs and weaker sections. Article 46 asks the state to take special care of education and economic needs of scheduled castes, scheduled tribes and other weaker sections. The Constitution does not clearly define weaker section, but it includes anyone who is disadvantaged due to poverty, disability or other social reasons. In the Mandal Commission case, the court said that weaker section is a broad term and includes all groups who are disadvantaged. The state can provide financial help, reservations and other benefits to help to uplift these groups. Article 51 AK, that is fundamental duty of parents. The 86th constitutional amendment added a new duty in Article 51A, that is K, Article 51A K, which says that it is the responsibility of the parents or guardians to send their children, those are age 6 to 14 years old, to schools. The aim is not to punish poor parents, but to encourage and help them send their children to school through schemes like the Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, etc. Teaching in mother tongue, that is Article 350A. Article 350A, added by the 7th Amendment in 1956, says that every state must try to provide education in the child's mother tongue at primary level, especially for children belonging to linguistic minority groups. The President of India can direct states to make sure this happens. Mother tongue education is very important in a country like India, where many languages are spoken. Learning is one's own language helps children to understand better and stay connected with their culture. The Article 26(1) also supports this by giving citizens the right to preserve their own language, script and culture. Article 350B, that is a special officer for linguistic minorities. It provides for the appointment of a special officer for linguistic minorities by the President of India. Article 350B helps safeguard the rights of people who speak minority languages. It makes sure that their voices are heard and protected within the country's diverse linguistic landscape. This article reflects India's commitment to linguistic diversity and inclusive governance. Article 337, that is educational grant for the Anglo-Indian community. These grants were intended to help Anglo-Indian educational institutions to maintain their standards and to provide educational opportunities to their communities. However, to ensure inclusivity, Article 337 also states that at least 40% of the seats in these institutions must be reserved for students from other communities, not just for Anglo-Indians. Article 351, that is related to promotion of Hindi. Article 351 of the Indian Constitution directs the Union government to promote the Hindi language and to develop it as a medium of expression and enrich it by assimilating elements from other languages, particularly those listed in the 8th schedule. The goal is to make Hindi as a comprehensive language reflecting India's diverse culture and fostering national integration. In conclusion, we can say the Indian Constitution supports equal opportunities and equal education for everyone. It believes that every child, no matter where they come from, should have the same chance to learn and grow. The idea is to reduce the gap between the rich and poor and between rural and urban areas. The Constitution provides a strong base for this goal, and the government must keep working to ensure that it is achieved in practice. Article 21A of the Indian Constitution gives the right to free and compulsory education to all children aged 6 to 14 years old. Article 15 says there should be no discrimination in education on the basis of religion, race, caste, sex or place of birth, etc. Article 29(2) also says that no citizen can be denied admission to any educational institutions run by the state or receiving government aid. Article 46 asks the state to give special attention to the education of weaker sections like scheduled castes, scheduled tribes. Scholarship, reservations and other support help these groups to access education. Thus, the Constitution of India gives special attention to education. It guarantees equality and protects cultural and minority rights, supports the disadvantaged sections and recognizes the importance of education for national development. Various articles and amendments show that the government's commitment to making education accessible and fair for everyone regardless of their background. These provisions aim to build a strong, democratic and educated society. There are some references here. Thank you.